Deepak, and thanks, Neeraj, for the introduction. Yeah, it's really amazing to be here and be among some of the best in the industry, both on the tech side as well as on the agri side. Somehow, I'm not an expert on either side, so I hope you please excuse me on that side. I may not have that much of an expertise either on agriculture or on technology, but yes, let me give you a brief introduction of what we do here in India. So I'm responsible for the World Economic Forum's India Center, which is the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution, mainly focusing on the role of emerging technologies like AI, IoT, blockchain, drones, data policy across various domains. In India, we focus on projects which are of national priority, like agriculture, health, smart cities, education, and then we are also now working on few newer areas like circular economy and advanced manufacturing over maybe next few months as we launch those projects. Agriculture, we initiated a project called AI for AI or AI for Agriculture Innovation. That was in the month of August. And when we started, we were not very sure of like how finally it will shape up, but then we wanted to build a multi-stakeholder view where we even connected with Deepak earlier on, like how do we really reach out to all the right stakeholders across this industry. And our focus was that how can we play the role of the technology absorption across this very, very challenging sector, where it's so complex that whether you consider like the availability of data ecosystems or even like the complexity of the small holding farmer ecosystem, which is pretty much almost like 85% of the farmers are owning very, very small tract of land, less than around an average around 1.5 acres, which makes it so difficult for any technology absorption to be kind of brought in. So that has been the challenge that we started with. Let me just kind of, if that's okay, I can use a few slides, and I'll be happy to kind of try to bring this whole discussion more around blockchain. But then the real use case I look at is the traceability as far as blockchain is concerned, because blockchain is a technology. But then when I look at from the agriculture ecosystem, I see how it can bring traceability. So just to start with, I hope you can see the slides.
Yes, we can see the slide very clearly. Thanks, Kushal.
Thank you. So AI for AI or AI for agriculture innovation is not necessarily limited to AI. Although when we started, we focused on AI, but then when we actually launched it, it became like there is no technology which works in isolation. And so does blockchain, and so does any of them, because they are all finally interconnected. And when we started the project, we just did a bit of a landscape study on what is it that finally are the core issues, and I'll not go into the deeper details of each one of them, but then some of them which possibly I can relate now is that the quality of inputs, which could be fertilizer, it could be pesticide, it could be seeds, and then also with regard to like how do you source them, looking at perspective of how the operations in the field have been completely lack of transparency in using like what kind of inputs are being used, and then also what kind of practices are used for environment as well. In terms of looking at from the fintech side, people are offering credits and looking at insurance ecosystem. Again, this is a complete, I would say, a black hole where people are still trying to figure out how do you really get the data around the farming ecosystem for credits and insurance. The other piece is that we are looking at from the farmer side also, the producer organization side also, there is a bit of a disconnect and mistrust on both the sides. And then looking at some of the common standards, which would mean like what is acceptable across the industry and across even the farming ecosystem. Currently, there is nothing either on the quality. I mean, like it's there on the paper, but then when we try to bring in technology, that becomes very, very difficult. And then obviously, we're looking at the supply chain and then bringing in transparency were the core issues, beside the other fundamental issues which we have been working on. So that was where when we started somewhere in August, when we had some 70 plus partners working with us. And these partners were across. There were some more than 25 odd startups. We have all the large industry partners, tech industry, cloud service providers, telecom providers, and then also a lot of people who are on the ground in terms of FPOs, etc. And government was predominantly a part of it. So we are looking at from all the aspects what can be done with the help of technology in this very, very complex ecosystem and challenging situation as well. So, like, just to give you a feel of what we were, how did we engage? So this is not like maybe a complete picture of what we were doing, but then only picked up on one of the working groups which we were having was on the farm gate to fork, which is like after harvesting to the consumption point, and we looked at what are the various functional areas where the interventions may happen. And if you see, there were 5 areas which we picked up: quality and traceability were the ones which we found like one of the most impacting ones. Like most of the use cases were rated as either first priority or second priority, and we looked at as through all the use cases in terms of startup ecosystem and the industry were pushing. And if you see the traceability of the blockchain as they are leveraged, we looked at a few of the startups which we are having, and then few of the industry names like IBM and SAP also who have been working, went much deeper into their solutions and also tried to connect off what the gaps are right now. We try to map it to various commodity value chains like cereals and pulses and vegetables. And when we were talking to each of the stakeholders in these commodity chains, we figured out that the traceability solutions and the use cases may not be exactly relevant in all the scenarios in everywhere at the same level. So sometimes it's more relevant, sometimes it is good to have. So it's a situation one has to kind of look at from the commodity value chain itself. And like this is also a very high like I would say larger clubbing. But then for every like chili may have a very different value chain as compared to turmeric versus coffee or versus tea. So that's where the complexity keeps coming, and that's what when we started digging deeper, we realized. Then there was another view of like how possibly this scenario will really impact. But then when we were looking at the total true cost of food, when we were looking at from the perspective of how possibly blockchain and traceability will play out. And the true cost of food was not just the economic value of the food. We were looking at and by the way, not every stakeholder is really interested in all the pieces of the true cost, which would mean like possibly the farming ecosystem, farmers or FPOs, there is a big cost of environment, which possibly it may not be so much of a value to them at that point of time, because if you look at 85% farmers holding almost like 50% of the land, it's pretty much they are more worried about their sustainability or their livelihood. The health part is another big cost in terms of food safety and also the security. And then obviously the social part of it in terms of even like what kind of a way we can support the larger society in inclusivity side. So this was the true cost of food that we were looking at solving as a part of it. And when we looked at this whole traceability part, we focused and we figured out the core areas which we need to work on is certainly going to be how do we bring trust across the ecosystem? How do you bring transparency from either side? As an end-to-end transparency, how can it help both in like terms of farmers using what kind of agri inputs are being used, which kind of what are the crop varieties that are being planted and which tract of land, what are the safe practices which are being adopted, both in terms of food safety as well as in terms of environment and the quality of food. So practically we were looking at how does traceability help across this whole ecosystem and the value chain, and we realized that this is one of the most important, maybe possibly the value enhancement use case that we can bring in. And the other thing which we also realized when we had done a study some time back, we had shortlisted some core technologies which are going to be completely changing the whole agriculture ecosystem. And beside all of them, we realized that IoT, food sensing, and blockchain, which is the traceability part, if we combine together, almost like 10% of the whole value chain upliftment happens. And we're talking about the average, like the food sensing technology or the quality part of it itself, when clubbing it with the traceability, enhances the whole food waste, reduces the food waste by 5 to 7%. And that was a big mover as per our realization, as per our study. The study is a public study, which is we can share the link also as well. The second other associated technology obviously was IoT, because when you put it the sensor technology, then again the pieces of dynamic data capture instead of like a manual data capture is a big mover. And then obviously the blockchain, which enhances the part of immutability and data across distributed data. So that's where we were looking at these three core areas when we looked at the larger transformative technologies in agriculture. And when we say what are these technologies and what are the specific elements of traceability in this ecosystem, we also looked at how possibly the capture of data in terms of whether it's environment or whether it is going to be the crop quality or quantity or safety. So all those parameters, how do you look at the data elements, and then what could be those identifiers, which could be the RFID tags or barcodes. So that's something which for sure are the core elements. But then the one which are enabling from the technology side, as I said, was the sensor technology. Like how can you really look at maybe temperature sensors or maybe weight sensors, or even looking at a perspective of all elements of maybe optical sensors, etc., measuring the right parameters directly from the field is going to be the most important one. So IoT along with the blockchain is the one which is going to play out. As I said, food sensing, whether you are going to be having a spectroscopy or maybe using optical cameras for looking at the food quality based and then applying AI on top of it, is going to be another piece which gets completely interconnected. So when you have IoT and food sensing technologies working together, and then linking it with the traceability or blockchain, which brings in the other elements, as I said, was maybe distributed data as well as immutability, and the last one, which is the security. So if you club these technologies, that's where the real solution on the food systems and transformative solutions come back. But then the core which we realized was the how do you bring the stakeholders ecosystem together. Now the thing was that we also realized that this cannot be a tech solution. This cannot be even like a farmer end solution. So it has to work across. And and this is what Forum does, and across, while we are working on these projects on the ground, we work very closely with government, and specifically say in India, we are working with Ministry of Agriculture, Telangana government, and now we are starting to work with a few other state governments also to make these use cases, both looking at from the perspective of governance models and policy frameworks. And these policy frameworks and governance models need to be derived after multiple level of consultations and discussions, which we did for almost like 18 odd weeks through 4 working group meetings, and 70 plus partners were engaged. That's when you derive a complete multi-stakeholder perspective on before you put the input on policies and governance. The other big piece which is important is the business models. Now, like when we look at only from the tech perspective or a startup community perspective, unless we understand like how the investment will pay up and who will pay for it, in terms of whether the buyer will pay for it or the farmer has to invest in it without any maybe end return. So all those things are in terms of enabling a business model, in terms of across not just the capex but also the opex need to be understood. And then who will invest is one big piece of it. But then the other part also was the capacity building. Now, unless this whole ecosystem really is brought into the same level of maybe either standards or policies or protocols and understand this whole value chain, it is going to be very, very difficult. So that has been the core for us, that unless the governments and all the tech companies, the buyer community, and then also the agri-business input companies, either side, agri input as well as agri output companies, and then civil society as well. When as we are more like, I would say, operating system players as Forum, we try to bring all these stakeholders together and try to make things maybe work on the ground to see how the technology and the innovations can be brought in the real food value chain. So I'll maybe just pause and see if there could be any point of discussions, or maybe possibly we can bring things to the perspective. Deepak, I think you have been in the system for so long, you understand this even better than me, but then happy to answer in whatever way we can solve it.
Well, thanks a lot, Purushottam, for sharing the forum's view. And again, I would keep on talking about the AI for AI right, at so many forums, because this is what actually is required from an organization like World Economic Forum. Right? Definitely, we are not expecting that we have to be doing things on ground and then talk about how to bring farmers out of their misery overnight. But the whole vision, of the founders of creating the vision going forward for the world to take note of, and the multi-stakeholder approach, and also now, I love when Professor Schwartz talked about that we'll have to have stakeholder capitalism. In fact, I started today's session by quoting that part itself, that agriculture is the best example where stakeholder capitalism is of utmost value, because the weakest link is the most important link, that is the farmer, right? And with this, actually, I would ask a couple of questions and to take it forward. It is again around activities being done in India. So you have this long marathon session and very difficult task of pulling right people with very different point of interest, right? How difficult you see building an ecosystem around agriculture would be in a developing country like India, and what challenges you believe we need to think about and solve, not just in changing the mindset or the business model, but overall approach to agriculture, in your views? Pushottam, you're on mute, it seems. Okay, let me. Okay.
Yeah, now I'm unmuted. Sorry, I was trying to. So I think Deepak, yeah, this has been a very, I would say, last 12 months have been very active and engaging discussions across the stakeholders. And I will try to answer in three parts. And this may not be necessarily linked to traceability, but then I would say that challenges of bringing in technologies in the agriculture ecosystem and then making this whole thing work, especially for a country which is lacking resources like India. One certainly is the biggest gap is the data gaps, or I would say data not being available for any technology innovation. So if we want to bring AI into the play, or if we want to bring even like blockchain into the play, the first thing that we need is those agri data stacks to be enabled. And what we have realized is, and there was a study from McKinsey, and it was done along with NASSCOM, that they identified some 15 data sets, which could be land records and soil health card data, and then looking at the weather data and the remote sensing data, and then crop pest images, etc. So there are some 15. It's a public report which is there, which is 15 data sets adding up to almost like $65 billion value in the agriculture ecosystem. So it's a kind of a really, I would say, a treasure which needs to be enabled. But then it is easier to say that. But when we actually start working on each of the data stacks and start asking the data consumers, so on one side we have all the data providers, which could be mostly predominantly government, but then there are a lot of other private organizations who have also been working here in enabling the data ecosystem. So if we can somehow bring even the data providers together, the other big piece is that how do data consumers look at it? Because when we talk to startups and when we try to do a few pilots on the ground, we realize that whatever data in the current form and shape, if you make it available, it is not consumable. It is not, the data is not clean, the quality is not maintained. Plus the formats are like either it's not having time series or it's not having the proper resolution. So it's becoming very difficult to use because the data was not captured or not maintained with the intent of that it will be consumed by the startup. So it just captured for the maybe dashboard reporting, etc. So that's one part of it, that how do we make data ecosystem work? And we have been working with the states as well as with the Central Ministry of Agriculture on a digital ecosystem of agriculture, which is one of the biggest initiative of ministry, where they're trying to kind of enable this whole data ecosystem for the larger industry to innovate on. The second piece, which is another big important piece, is that when we talk of, we're calling it a concept of A-box or agri sandbox, where we look at bringing in not just human physical spaces to bring in startups as incubators, but also make them really successful. We need to give them a real domain knowledge expertise, because many of these startups who are like a few people, very smart graduates who are trying to figure out the solution, may not be having that much of depth of knowledge of how the KPIs and KRAs are going to be on the field. What are the various complexities of working with FPOs? What is the business model in terms of what is the payout against any of the technology investment? That domain knowledge has to be brought in. Like we are, for example, in Telangana, we are bringing in the Telangana Agriculture University to play that role. There is a third part which is focused on policies and programs convergence. Now, what happens is the government is running its own programs of maybe fertilizer subsidy, seed subsidy, field extension officers, and private ecosystem is trying to develop their own delivery models. Now, just imagine how they can, if they converge together, there is going to be so much of synergy which can work out. If the field extension officers, like village level entrepreneurs who are working today in the field, can become like a front end for many of these innovative solutions on the ground, then we may have a completely different way of delivery of these services. So that's where we need to possibly look at convergence of programs and policies need to happen. And then we still buy, or maybe whenever the government is trying to include some of these startups into the ecosystem of government, we still buy it as like a vendor-based approach, where your L1 approach or the lowest bid has to come and then solution has to be bought in. But that's not possibly the way which we can sustain on innovation-led solutions, because innovations cannot be brought in at a lowest price mechanism. So we'll have to try to work out some kind of procurement models, technology validation model for innovations. So these are the 3-4 things which we are trying to incubate within the A-Box model. And then the last one is more around the PPP framework, which Ministry has asked us to work on. How do you bring the startup ecosystem, the technology organizations like HPE and Cisco's and Dell's who are working so much on the field. Then there are AWS's and IBM's and Google's and all these large Microsoft. They're working some amazing platforms that they have to enable this whole startup ecosystem. And then we have all even the agri input companies and agri output platform companies also, like the market buyers. Bring them in and so that we can make them work in an ecosystem like a real PPP framework. So that's what we have been now tasked to. So these 3 pillars are the one which we are trying to build on, which possibly could be the play to bring in the technologies and the domain.
No, extremely very well articulated and very well planned. Unfortunately, if you work in a developing country, right, the WEF's visibility is actually through Davos or Tianjin, right? And first time I'm interacting with a lot of stakeholders, and they started talking a lot about the initiative, right? So that's a congratulations to your team and yourself for achieving that. My next question is around we understand the WEF is having long-term perspective of any problem or when they enter any specific challenge they want to solve, they have a very long-term perspective. So where does the AI for AI, you have already achieved pulling all the guys in, right? The big corporates, the big tech companies to even the central government and the state governments, right? How do you see in next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the focus shifting on getting on ground execution from the typically consultation papers or the draft to getting that happen, right? Are you having some very specific focused area where you believe these 3 things we'll be doing to make this happen on ground as well?
Yeah, so actually in India, we have not taken that approach of white papers and possibly the reports only. While there are outputs which need to be worked on as different milestones through the partnerships and discussion, we are very much focused now on bringing in and working in those organizations who can do ground implementations. So now we have selected at least a few districts where we are going in with select value chains like chili and turmeric and picking up cotton, and then bringing in the set of use cases which can transform the value chains for the period of next maybe 3 or 4 crop cycles to really see how these technologies can really play out on the ground. Because it's good to be on paper, but when you actually put it on the ground, the scenario may be very different. And beside that, we also have another associated, beside AI for AI, we are trying to converge Food Innovation Hub program that we have launched in India. And that's an initiative. Once gets combined, we will have at least 4 or 5 such states where we will be launching these pilots and then measuring the impact. So maybe I would say the action is there for the next 2 or 3 years in various states which will pick up. And while we work with the Ministry of Agriculture also closely on maybe making policies and governance and also the PPP frameworks on action. So yes, it is a long-term journey. It's a complex domain. But then, as we say, unless you have a clear understanding of what you're going to do next week and maybe next month, then the year and the next year will also not happen.
No, very, very straightforward approach from a, I'll say, experienced practitioner. So, definitely, turmeric, we are doing it. So, we are doing in Gujarat a lot of turmeric, ginger. So that value chain, right, will be more than happy to collaborate, and we are using all sort of technologies. So, from someone who created technology, now I'm actually a user of technology. So we have got awesome technology all the way from France. We are taking the technology coming from Singapore on traceability. We are working with one of company which is very well closely associated with WEF also on seeds, right, from US. So definitely, I would thank WEF also, they have contributed a lot in my own career as well, right? So from 2018, definitely we miss beautiful Davos, Tianjin, Hanoi, right? And that is my last question to you. When are we going to see the physical events coming back? We all are keeping fingers crossed and waiting for it.
Yeah, actually, to be frank, yes, other than those that whole dynamics of physical presence, work-wise, we have not really lagged. So it is so easy to get like the best of the people across the world in a room with a with just a click of button. Could not have been better. However, for sure, the physical world is we are all missing it, and we would love to get to the same scenario. I think hope let's have maybe the next meeting, annual meeting in uh, the usual place, but can't come as such.
No, in fact, I was very upbeat about when Singapore was selected because, but unfortunately, that also COVID is not helping anyone. So again, Pushottam, it was pleasure to have you. Thanks a lot for sharing a beautiful perspective. Keep doing the great work you are doing. Whole ecosystem is rooting for you, right? So we all are your cheerleaders, and please continue the great work. Thanks a lot for participation. I would hand over to Neeraj to introduce the next speaker and take it forward. Thanks a lot, Pushottam. Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Thanks. And thank you, everyone.